There's the story of Abiyoyo. In the Bible, they tell about a little guy named David who faced down a tough, mean giant called Goliath who was threatening the people. And nursery rhymes record the story of Jack and the Beanstalk, or you may also have heard it called by the title, Jack the Giant Killer. These are stories about little guys who face up to big challenges and overcome the odds. People who don't seem to have a lot of power are unstoppable. Somehow they manage to prevail, and often they have a secret weapon that helps them to get things done. Maybe they have a magic wand or a little slingshot or a golden harp or some other trick up their sleeves, but by using their wits and daring, they have a much bigger impact than their relatively small size might suggest. Somehow they get the job done. Abiyoyo's just a legend, of course. Giants that have big claws that shake the ground with their footsteps. They don't really exist except in fairy tales. But other kinds of giants are all too real. Here in North Carolina, for instance, I understand that there are some giants, one or two financial titans, maybe one of the richest men in the world who's not content just to be a billionaire. He wants to buy up and own the state's courts and legislators, too. But a lot of little folks are banding together to make sure that the government works for all the people and not just a wealthy few. And some of those folks are right here this morning. Some of them were in Washington, D.C., our capital, yesterday. So, show of hands, who has been at the Moral Monday protests? Who will be coming on Wednesday at 5:15? We'll be gathering in the parking lot at the planetarium to mark the 50th anniversary of the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom, to take the dream the next step forward. Being human, we all fight giants, from the bully in the schoolyard to those big impersonal forces like wars and natural disasters. And the reason we tell stories about Abiyoyo and Jack and the Beanstalk is to remind each other that the monsters we battle aren't always as tough as they seem, that we ourselves are stronger and more resilient than we know, and sometimes we have powers we didn't even realize we possess. One man who's been fighting giants for 94 years now is the folk singer Pete Seeger. Pete came from a relatively privileged family. His parents both taught at a very famous school called Juilliard in New York, where they train up professional musicians for symphony orchestras. But in his teenage years, Pete attended a square dance where he heard someone picking the 5-string banjo, and his life was changed forever. He dropped out of Harvard midway through college to bum around the country listening to songs that ordinary people sang in migrant camps during the day as they worked in fields and factories and around the campfires at night. And somewhere in there he met other musicians like the Dust Bowl balladeer Woody Guthrie and the black blues singer Leadbelly, and he started to write songs of his own. He wrote a song called The Talking Union Blues that was for people struggling for better wages and working conditions against the giant of big business. And at the height of the Cold War in the 1950s, he wrote a song called Where Have All the Flowers Gone? That was about the monsters of militarism and violence. About that same time, a very horrible, slimy, nasty creature called McCarthyism summoned him up before the House Un-American Activities Committee and tried to put him in jail for a year because they didn't like his lyrics. But Pete had a secret weapon called the First Amendment that said he could sing whatever he liked, and zip, 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 he just kept right on strumming. He sang about civil rights, and he sang about pollution. He sang on TV and radio, and he sang in enough Unitarian Universalist churches that he finally decided he might as well join one of them. And he became a member of that other community church up there in New York City, the town that he grew up in. Pete's pretty old now. He's been singing songs of peace and freedom for almost a century, through the Great Depression and World War II and Vietnam and Iraq and all the rest. He is still fighting the good fight, so I don't really see how we can give up either. But we do have to remember our magic. Not magic beans, not magic wands, but real magic, like the power of music and a sense of humor and the transforming power of ideals to pull people out of apathy, to work together for their dreams. Magic like the magic in this congregation, where we realize that however difficult the tasks before us, we don't have to face them alone. It's like a song Pete once wrote. Old giant fear, you with your icy hand. Old giant fear, you'd like to freeze me cold. But when I'm afraid, my lovers gather round and help me rise to fight you one more time. Old monster hate, I knew you long ago, then I found out the poison in your breath. Now when we hear your lies, my lovers gather round and help me rise to fight you one more time. No storm or fire can ever beat us down, no wind that blows but carries us further on. And you who fear, oh lovers, gather round, and we can rise to sing it one more time.